What's up, everyone? Welcome to July 20th meetup. We are very excited for tonight. We're going a little bit unorthodox tonight. Instead of bringing some presenters in, we had Megan hound us and say that she's had so many questions asked over the last little while, and so many people are sick of hearing from everyone else that they actually want to hear from us. So we're here to just literally serve tonight. That is our one purpose, is to answer questions and provide value. No other intentions, no other anything. There's literally no agenda here tonight other than if you have questions, you ask them and we'll try and answer them. And if we can't answer them, we'll find somebody that will answer them for us. So we're super excited for it. I don't think we've ever done anything like this before, but very excited to jump into it. So literally tonight's agenda, who we are, and then just open Q&A. So we'll just sit here and rap all night until we get questions answered and do that. So like every time, guys, turn your camera on. Steve and I love faces. We love chatting. We love interacting, calling you out, having some fun. So turn your camera on. So much more fun for us. Open up the chat.
Can't hug you if we can't see you.
Yeah. Open up the chat. Tell us where you're from. Tell us where you're investing from. And also feel free to change your name tag. You know, something like, hey, like you see on the screen there at the bottom, like Randy, looking for a joint venture partner in Victoria, something like that, or where you're investing or something. And that way, when you're chatting, you can interact with each other. You can see what's going on. The whole point of this group is to connect and get to know each other. So let's try and keep that connecting and going on inside of our community here while we're online. Again, as always, on our community on Facebook, lots of chat going on there, lots of good stuff happening. We're at 1,300 members now. We're putting, it looks like about over 100 members every month right now, which is incredible. Lots of growth, lots of excitement, lots of people asking questions, getting them answered. And that's where quite a few of the questions from tonight came from, was from our Facebook community where people are asking questions. So super great to be in there. For those of you who don't know who we are, Steve and I co-founded the REINVESTORS back in 2015. We do a lot of real estate investing. We do a little bit of education, stuff like this. And our primary space right now is actually in development. And some of the things we've been able to accomplish, just so you can see why we're able to stand at the front of the room and do these presentations. We've been doing this meetup for over 5 years now. 5 years of running this meetup consistently, basically every single month, which is absolutely phenomenal. We have a community. We've done a lot of training. We've done a lot of hosting. We've done a lot of events, and we've helped a lot of people grow their portfolios as well. Some awesome testimonials from the community and the group. We've done over 13 in transactions. I think now we're over $14 million raised, which is a very, very cool feature. We've worked with over 45 different investors. And we've done just various different types of deals, from single family to development to Airbnb and a bunch of different great things. So a quick thing about us, the biggest thing about us is that we just love giving back. That's the only reason why we really got into being entrepreneurs and starting these businesses, was that we just wanted to have bigger purposes and bigger missions in our lives. So in doing this, we created Go Big to Give Big, which is inspiring others to go bigger with their dreams and goals so they can give bigger with their profit. Repping the shirt tonight for it. And just honestly, this is where our heart and our passion lies. It's just giving back, building businesses that have some sort of tendency to give back, and using the wealth that we create to do good in this world. You guys want to see us get passionate and fired up? Real estate takes us to 10, giving back takes us to 12. So if you ever want to see us take it to another level, just ask us how we give back, and you'll definitely get the full show of the excitement and everything that goes on with us. So our mission statement in our companies: we're on a mission to financially educate 1 million people and inspire them to invest in real estate so they can start living a more fulfilled life. We believe that one of the biggest problems in this world is that people aren't financially educated, which is why we started these meetups and started helping as many people as we can. We figured if we can inspire 1 million people to do that, we'll have some great impact in this world. And then just teaching them how to live a fulfilled life. It's all fun and games to make some good money, but what are you doing with that money to have fun for yourself and support others around you? Our next meetup, as we always like to share at the beginning so that you can put it in your calendar, is not going to be August. We're going to take August off. We're coming off a pandemic. we're scheduled for a lot of nice weather, and we are just honestly, nobody wants to sit in in front of their computer for an hour and listen to us talk when they could be outside enjoying the weather. And even tonight's a hard one for us. You'll see there's probably not going to be a sold out room tonight. It's just the nature of summer, and we're totally okay with it. But that's why we're going to take August off. Stay tuned in your emails, though. We may be working on something. Will I just leave it there? Maybe working on something. I'll say maybe working on something local. So if you're local to BC or Vancouver Island particularly, hang tight. You might see something that you want to see for August. It might be a fun little thing to keep your eye out for. One of the quick things we wanted to share is just a quick win. I don't know about you guys. Steve and I get inspired by seeing other people do stuff or have big wins or do those kinds of things. And Steve and I had a pretty big win over the past few weeks here. And we share this stuff to inspire you, not to brag, not to do anything. Literally, it's just how Steve and I have been able to scale, is getting in rooms where people are doing bigger things and pushing us to do bigger things. And so I'm very excited and happy to just share that we were able to sell out a development project that we just launched. We kept it mostly internal, and it was a 4-story building near UVic, development permit ready. And we fully subscribed $1.5 million in less than a week. So thank you to all of our investors that participated in it and were able to come in. It's a huge feature for Steve and I to be able to, and testimony to say what we've been creating and what we've been doing. So we're very, very excited to share that internally, and also just say, hey, we're just trying to keep pushing that bar up for this whole community to keep inspiring ourselves, sharing your wins, and having a lot of fun along the way. It was a really cool feature for Steve and I to do something like this. And guys, it was literally just a year and a half ago, we were scared to raise $700,000 for a development. And now we just did $1.5 million in less than a week. So we're very excited about that. And we have our next opportunity coming up super quick. We're very lucky. This one's going to be a little bit bigger for us, and it's going to be a 6-story condo building. It's in just off the gorge there. It's going to be a very sexy looking building, and it's going to be a lot of fun for Steve and I to, again, raise some capital for and be a part of. So if you are an accredited investor or an exempt investor and you want to get involved with us or do something that we're up to, just send us an email to info@thereinvestors.ca. Make a funny subject line. It makes us excited instead of just seeing nothing. But I love passive money is a good one that gets everyone pretty fired up and excited. So again, no obligations or anything, but if you are interested in working with us, just send us an email and we're happy to connect with you and talk about some of the different stuff. Boom, right on time for the 6:15. This is honestly, I have no expectation for this. Megan has, I think we accumulated just over a dozen or just a dozen and a bit questions that came in through our community, through emails, through people posting on Facebook and such. It might even be more now. That was just last time I looked. But we're just here to serve, here to answer questions, here to help, some sort of giving back, you could say. Steve and I have been supported a lot. We've had a lot of good mentors. We've been honestly just asked a lot of questions in our days and had the right people answer them. And it's, it just takes the right answer to the right question to be able to get you inspired. So the best way to do this, guys, if it's a simple question, put it in the chat box. Just type your question in there. We'll get to it and answer it right away. If it's a bit more convoluted question, put in there, hey, I'd like to unmute myself and ask my question. We'll call on you to unmute yourself. Or if you want to ask it anonymously, if you go into the chat box, you can click 2. There's a little button that says 2 there. And if you just go to Megan Evans at the REINVESTORS and type your question to her, she will ask it anonymously. So you don't feel like you have to ask the question yourself, but we're happy to do that. So type it in the chat, type that you'd like to ask a little bit longer or harder question if it's a bigger question, or message Megan directly and she will ask it on your behalf. I'm going to stop sharing so I can see some lovely faces and see some people here. And there is some questions coming in here and a little bit stuff about our development things. But I think we're going to kick it off quickly just by letting Megan ask Steve and I, 1 or 2 quick questions. Sometimes it's nice to see the ball rolling, some of the questions. Good for Steve and I to get in a rhythm here, and then we'll open it up completely to you guys. So again, chat box, great for questions. Let us know if you want us to unmute you to ask your question. And if not, send them to Megan and she'll ask them like she's about to right now.
Hi, everybody.
Get your stretch in. Make sure you're warmed up for this session, you know?
That's right. I've got some hard ones headed your way. We're just going to dive right in. So first anonymous question is, what is an accredited or expert investor and how can you become one? Ooh,
I'll take that one on, except for the expert side of things.
Sorry, exempt.
Oh, exempt. Yeah, that's easy. Expert, I would just point to everybody else in the room. For a accredited investor, so it depends on where you're raising capital. So for example, I live in Victoria, British Columbia, and my projects are mainly in Victoria, BC. And so if I'm raising capital from accredited investors, because my issuing province, because the company that I own and the project that I have is within BC, I have to comply to BC's Securities Commission rules. Now, if you're doing a project in Alberta and your company's actually based in BC, you'd still be in BC. Or if you're doing both in Ontario, then you would be in Ontario Securities Commission. So for us being within British Columbia and looking around the room, probably say a good portion would be in BC as well. A accredited investor, you have to check one of the following criteria. You have to have the position of a $5 million net worth, and that can include your primary residence, or you have to have $1 million of liquidity without your primary residence. So that could be other securities like stocks, bonds, could be cash or savings. It could also be equity that you have in a rental property. Or you have to have a consistent income of $200,000 or more, or $300,000 between you and your spouse. That's what equals a accredited investor. And then in the exempt market, and just for context, when you're raising capital and not a certified professional capital raiser or investment advisor, you have to play in what's called the exempt market. So you have to only be able to accept funds from these folks being accredited investors or exempt people. If you have a license, you can basically walk up to anybody on the street and be like, hey, give me your money, I'm going to invest it for you. So to be exempt within British Columbia, you have to be a close friend, family member, or business associate of the issuer, so whoever's doing the project and raising capital. And to meet that criteria of close, basically the CRA wants to see a level of relationship that can qualify trust, and trust to the point where you have enough trust to say like, yes, I believe in George's ability to perform, to execute, to handle risk mitigation, and to be able to pivot if needed this particular project at hand. And then so that's one version. That's the close side of things. The other exemptions would just be a company that invests $150,000 as a minimum. There's a crowdfunding one as well as an exemption, but that's usually a $1,500 max per investor and usually above 200 people. And then, is there one more? I feel like I'm missing one. Friends, family, close business associates, accredited investors, companies.
That's a great answer, Steve.
Yeah, okay.
just everywhere. Steve likes to give real in-depth answers, so.
I'm detail oriented.
Orientated.
So that's accredited, that's exempt. There you go.
Steve, that was actually my question, and I have probably 5 follow-up questions for you, so I might reach out to you afterwards.
Yeah, I can't see who's speaking. Was it Kamal? Is that you? Oh, what's up? Yeah, definitely. Let's connect tomorrow.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Yeah, shoot me a Facebook message or text me or something, and we'll set up a time, preferably in the morning.
Okay.
Cool.
Boom.
And as long as you're investing our money, Steve, you go ahead and be as detailed as you want.
Yeah, it's a fine line, Ian. Like when you're in a community like this, like you need to be punctual and like quick and to the point. But at the same time, like I want to give as much possible detail so you fully understand the concept.
Well, it's your attention to detail and many other reasons why I do trust you guys.
Appreciate you. Thank you. And I didn't pay Ian to say that, by the way. I'll just put that up as a disclosure.
You're just in a really great mood, man.
Yeah,
No, things are working.
that's awesome. Get your hands dirty.
Next
All right.
question, Megan.
Diving in, what are the best areas and cities to invest in currently?
Best cities to invest in currently. Again, I'll let Steve take a quick stab at this one.
So my answer to this, how do I shorten this?
Maybe I should have took it.
Okay, so best cities to invest in right now. So there's macroeconomics, which would be global, and then as you get a little bit smaller, there's like continental US, Canada, then there's provincial, then there's like possibly like area wise or like municipal, and then even within a municipality, there's better areas to invest. Like if you look at Vancouver, for example, like there's good areas of Vancouver and there's not so good areas of Vancouver, and so like it's a pretty particular subject. For me, I guess my short answer to the question would be find economies or markets that have a lot of fundamental strength to it. So, for example, within Victoria, we have a lot of industries that fuel our economy. You look at we're the capital of BC, so we have massive government. We're a massive tech hub of Canada. We have tourism as our number 2 industry of all. We have agricultural, we have marine, we have retail, we have, the list goes on. So we have so many things that support and fuel our economy that a pandemic can come around and wipe out half of it, and we can still survive, not only survive, but thrive. However, if you're in a marketplace that is a one-trick pony, maybe you're investing in a town that is like oil dominated or mill dominated, and then something like whether it be government intervention or new policy or a pandemic that comes around and wipes out half or more of that industry, that's no longer going to be a thriving economy. And you want to be in the position where you have high population growth, high job growth as well. And then what both of those are going to do is it's going to bring dollars into your economy. People who make good income, people who live in the area, shop in the area. And when you're shopping in the area, then you have money flowing in the area. When you have money flowing, that means that your area is growing. And so that's the main thing, is just find areas that are thriving and have good economic fundamentals that have not a short-term window, but something that, especially if you're in the buy and hold sector, something that has legs to stand on over the long term. So for me, I'm obviously hella biased around Victoria, not only from like a fact perspective of an economic view, but because I'm born and raised here as well. I've traveled to 29 different countries, and there's nowhere better than Victoria. So that's my short answer. If you want the long answer, reach out.
Yeah, and my answer is similar to Steve's. Somebody, Evan McLeish, said it the other day, where he said, live where you want to live and invest where the numbers make sense. So investing can change province to province, city to city, and it just depends on what you're doing, where you're doing it. So if single family homes is working in Alberta right now, go to Alberta, make it work. If it's not working, go find somewhere where it is. I was just talking to a guy the other day who's flipping houses in Saskatchewan. So it's the perfect market for it right now because you're still getting stuff cheap, but the market is still going up. I've heard a lot of people say the economy in Alberta is coming back. Obviously here in BC, we're starting to get a little bit hard. We're getting priced out of a lot of the single family homes with suites. That's why Steve and I made the transition to development, following the economic factors of, hey, we have very low supply, there's very high demand, and the economy is still pushing real estate up. It's a great time to develop because we are, even if we do see a little bit of recession, we're still going to be in the demand that's needed. So my answer is get crazily excited about studying economics and fundamentals that drive a city GDP and the industries that are there. So very, very important. It's not just, hey, here's a city. It's actually learning and studying fundamentals of economics that drive where Steve and I like to invest.
Just one other thing that's a great point, Randy. And I think it obviously depends, right? If you're looking for cash flow, go find markets that have high like economic factors to support cash flow. So like the 1% rule, go find markets that support the 1% rule. However, if you're looking for like our main strategy being new construction development, you want to find markets that have very low supply, very high demand, and a very long scope of population growth, because more population means more demand for housing. More demand for housing means more business for us as developers. So it really depends on what niche you want to fit into: high ROI, cash flow, development, buy and hold, BRRRRs, etc. There's niches in each one of those areas. You just want to find a market that fits best.
Cool. Guys, Megan's going to keep feeding us questions, but if you have questions, put them in the chat box. We're happy to start pulling from there now as we start seeing the feel and the vibe of things coming along here. Feel free to put your question in the chat box, or again, ask to be unmuted to share your question.
Yeah, these are very detailed answers that you guys are giving. Everyone better get in that chat box quickly or I'm going to fill it up. So the next question is, what is the typical ROI that you target?
It really varies. It's kind of a vague question for what we're doing. It depends on a lot of the different types of real estate. If you're working with joint venture partners, typically, the best way Steve and I describe this is private lending. Somewhere between 8 and 12% is normally where you'd like to see a return, because you're just lending it as a hard money lend on the property. When we start getting into joint venture partnerships, typically you start seeing between the 12 and 18% per partner in that space for a passive investor. So you'll end up actually wanting to look for like a 30% return on the property overall, because then you can share it 50-50. And then as we get into development, we share with our partners closer to the 20% returns is what we aim for. But again, that's all goes with the risk factor. So when you look at risk versus returns, typically the less risk there is, the less the return. As you start getting higher risk, like into partnerships and developments and stuff, your returns start getting higher and higher. So when Steve and I first started out, when we were looking for our first few properties with joint venture partners, we had to find something that would produce over, around a 15% return for our partners to make it worth it for them to come in and partner with us. And if you don't know how to calculate your return, it's basically how much profit you're going to make on the deal divided by how much money you put into the deal. So that tells you your return on investment. And then you can start dividing that out by how many years you're going to have it and stuff like that. So typically you want to, most people want to start seeing double-digit returns for anybody playing in the real estate space.
Okay, do you guys want to continue going with the anonymous questions or jump into the chat?
You can hit us one more, but anything that comes in.
Come on,
we'll do one more.
I thrive on questions. Let's just like popcorn it.
We'll do one more and then we'll hit, I think, Robin's questions next there.
Okay, last anonymous question for now. What used to be some of your greatest weaknesses and how did you improve on them?
My list is about yay big.
Do you want to go first or me?
You go first. I'll take a sec to think about a short answer.
Some of my weaknesses. I'll show you two of them. One of them being learning how to communicate was one of my problems. I'm a very hard speaker. I don't like to ask a lot of questions. I like to just push information forward. And so when you're sitting down with people trying to explain about a deal, instead of asking them what they want and how would they like to be involved and asking them questions and then listening very good, I actually just forced a lot of information forward. So that was one of the areas I struggled in the most and have had to improve and change along the way, was honestly learning to listen better. Not very much real estate related, but very real estate related. When you're starting to work with partners, when you're starting to get involved and listen to realtors and stuff, listening was one of the biggest things for me that I struggled with very early on and had to change. And then honestly, for me, it was economics. I don't have a lot of patience to sit down and study and read and learn, and it excites me. I just unclinically feel like I have ADD. I can't sit down and read documents. I can't read through huge legal documents like Steve can. I can't read through pages of economics about stuff. But I've had to learn to force that into my brain to like sit down, do the work and understand and learn because it's really changed. So those are the two things for me, not so much real estate related, but were two huge learning curves that I had to change as we started to grow our business.
I think you stole mine with communication. That's been really pivotal. Like, I think communication is such a, I have a different answer too, but I think communication is just such a underutilized or underappreciated skill set. You know, when it comes to, in our line of work, when we're working with trades, when we're working with surveyors, the city, investors, developers, etc., like communication is 97% of our business. And so learning to communicate in an effective, efficient, maybe elaborate, just to keep with the ease way, it can really transform what your outcome is. And so Randy and I have spent a lot of time working on that, and I think it's definitely paid off. And I would encourage everybody to work on that, whether it's just like within, you know, you and your marriage, or you and your business partner, or you and, you know, your tenants, or whatever. But I think the biggest weakness for me was probably fear. I think, like, you know, I felt like I had a lot of confidence coming into the real estate sector just because I have a lot of family in real estate. When we started the REINVESTORS, I was on a bit of a high in the sense of, you know, very accomplished, not entrepreneur, but like basically my role before the REINVESTORS was to set up our distribution network for avionics. And basically it was like deep end, like, here, ready, set, go, build a business. And did that very well. But jumping into a new space where it wasn't just my ass on the line, it was us working with investors, put a whole different dynamic into it. And I wasn't prepared to, you know, for me, I'm happy to lose my own money. You know what? I can make the decision. I can live and sleep at night when it's my own decision. But if it's somebody else's money on the line, then that's a completely different game. And so I think the fear of not knowing everything really held me back at first. And then the thing that changed was surrounding myself with a community like this. You know, we built the REINVESTORS community. We joined Keyspire. We joined a couple different masterminds, and having people that were like in our inner support circle really helped me like build that confidence to take that next step, and gave me a safe space to be like, yo, I don't know what I'm doing right now. Like, what's that next step? Should it be this? Should it be this? Or should it be this? And have that collaborative aspect with, you know, a close, you know, circle of friends and mentors. And I think overcoming that, and we're still in that similar position. Like, we still have mentors and network with some gangsters too to collaborate on. But that would definitely be the thing that held me back the most in the early days.
Great answer, Steve.
Was it short enough for you, Randy?
Perfect.
I got one more short joke for you, but that's later.
I saw a question here from Robin. She's asking, I'm interested in hearing more about your story towards development. What's your strategy now for your portfolio? Are you still looking to buy more properties? Why did you move to development, and how did that happen? So maybe I'll answer the second question there of why did we move to development and how did it happen? And you can answer what we're looking for right now and what things are looking like today. Does that work?
Yeah, I'd love to talk on both, actually. What's our portfolio look like now? So we're about 50-50. We have a rental portfolio as well as a new construction development portfolio. A lot of our core focus now is going towards new construction development. So I come from a little bit of an aspect of, like, anybody see the Field of Dreams movie? Right? Kevin Costner, you know, build it and they will come kind of thing, right? And I don't have the ego to be like, yeah, you know what, this is my vision and I'm going to go and create whatever this vision is. That's not my style. I'm more so like, throw a couple different lines out there and be like, what does the market want to see? Because I'm just going to chase whatever the market demand is. And in Victoria specifically, because we want to be here, because we want to have a bit of a laptop lifestyle, and because we want to create things, development was really the answer for that. And not only does it give, you know, a substantial amount of income, you know, in a short term versus a buy and hold income property, a triplex or whatever, where you're building wealth over the long term, but what it gives us is that ability to be able to build a business because the income that we can create from them immediately, as well as like the nest egg that we can then go and take that income and invest it into income properties for the long run. So it's like kind of like best of both worlds, as well as we get to like use our creativity and the fun aspect of economics on a daily level. And so the opposite side of things, if we only kept on the income property aspect here in Victoria and surrounding areas, it's such a competitive space right now. Everybody wants to buy an income property. Not everybody can be a developer or has that skill set or has that knowledge to even start, but pretty much anybody can go buy, as long as you qualify and have the funds, can go buy an income property. And so because of how competitive it is and because of how it works with our long-term goals and vision, that's why we're in development right now.
And to the second part of that, how did you move to development? How did that happen? Obviously, Steve talked a little bit about it. We're very lucky to be in a network of people that we were able to get connected in. So we were connected to some people that were doing some developments and watched, they brought us in to help raise some capital for them. And we saw them partnering with TLA Developments, who we are now partners with in our development space. And one of the things we saw was that they would hire that company to come in and do a bunch of the work. And everything Steve and I have learned is partnerships. You know, you can hire somebody to do the work, but when you actually make them have equity and skin in the game, they perform very differently. We watched some people try and work with TLA Developments from our side. We loved what we saw from the owners, and we just took them out for a bunch of coffees, got to know them, sold ourselves to these guys saying, hey, we can perform, we can do this, but we don't want to hire you guys to do a development. We actually want to partner with you. We want to work together. We want to be in the dirt with you. We want to work together as a team to create these developments. So it's a really cool aspect, changing from going and buying the house ourselves, doing the rentals ourselves, and doing everything, to then switching over to a partnership with these guys and saying, hey, let's do this together. And we started out very small with just a simple project with them to see if we could test the waters, if we liked working with each other, how it went. We had some great success with that project. And then now it's continued to snowball and grow. And our partnership has continued to grow with them. And they've actually become some really good friends of ours and partners that we're very, very excited to continue growing with. So that allowed us to make an easier transition into development because we partnered with someone who's already developed 1 million square feet in their lives. So they knew what they were doing. It was very easy for us to learn from them. We came in and basically got a paid internship or paid mentorship through them on learning the backwards of development, and made it a little bit easier transition for us. For Steve and I to go in and just do a 30, 40, 50 unit building by ourselves brings a little bit more risk because we definitely might not know what we don't know. Now we're learning and a ton of stuff along the way. And eventually, you know, if we decide to go on our own, we can. If we want to continue doing this in partnerships, we can. If we want to keep staying in the space, we can. So it was a bit of a fun transition, but was purely built around the fact of getting to know somebody in the industry with a credible reputation that was hungry for big work and was eager to partner. And that's the great stuff that Steve and I brought to the table with them, and we're able to make that work. I see another question here from Brenda. What are some common mistakes you see real estate investors make?
Ooh, can I jump in here? Sure. Super short and sweet. The most common mistake I see real estate investors make, it's easy. 4 words. I had to count. 4 words. Give up too early. Real estate investing is a long-term game. And it's not something that it's extremely rare where you're just like, yeah, sweet, you become a real estate investor and all of a sudden, boom, you're a millionaire. That is very rare. Real estate investing is something that you play the long-term game on. It's a lifestyle more than anything. And so what I see most people, striving for is, how do I replace my job, or how do I replace my income so that I can become a full-time real estate investor? And the thing that happens is they jump into it, they spend, $50,000 on, different programs and mentorships. They spend a year and it'd be like, crap, I'm not a millionaire yet. I'm not financially free. Bunch of liars. I'm out of here. Back to the job. Back to the 9 to 5. It's not a 360-day fix. This is something that you work on day in and day out. Real estate investing is a business. And if you look at Coca-Cola or Tesla or anybody else, it's not like they worked for a year and then they're like, sweet, I'm done. No, it's something that they work on day in and day out. And that's the biggest mistake, is maybe not to give up too early, but the mindset of it being like a short-term fix.
My biggest mistakes I see, fudging the numbers. So sometimes when you see it, it's you're like, oh, I normally put a 3% appreciation in, which is what Steve and I did. And we're in Victoria, we can run an 8%, right? We put in 3%. We'll see people put in 5 to inflate the numbers to make them look better. We run a 5% vacancy on all of our properties when we did our JVs. I'd see people drop that down to 1%, which is real, but it's not conservative. And they would do a lot of that to fudge the numbers to make it look a lot better when they're selling it to joint ventures and things like that. But you start overselling and under delivering. We want to oversell and over deliver. We want somebody to buy in at our conservative numbers, and then we want to over deliver that above it. So that's just one of the things that I saw, is people trying to force the numbers and make them work. And honestly, the second thing is just like what Steve said, the fear of not being good enough. Steve and I started just like everybody else, but you have to get your feet wet, and you have to be able to you have to be comfortable to fail. You have to go in knowing like, hey, this might not work, but I'm going to give it a try, and then I'm going to do it again and do it again and do it again. And just piggybacking what Steve said, we got punched in the face a lot in the beginning, but still kept moving forward. And so it takes a lot of resiliency to stay in this industry. And when things weren't right, we moved towns. When things didn't work there, we moved ideas. When things didn't work there, we moved types, and just willing to pivot and move. And from our mastermind, we've seen that a lot, where people have been priced out, but then like, hey, I'm going to move across the country and make it work. Like, you have to be pretty committed to be on that side. So staying committed will help you succeed, and just staying true to your numbers will help you succeed as well.
Love that. I'm on a like huge space geek attack over the last couple of weeks, because SpaceX and everything, Virgin Galactic. So if you look at SpaceX, like they had 4 rockets fail, boom, before they reached the outer atmosphere. So you look at a massive company with every resource you could imagine, still failing 4 times before they hit success. How are we to expect anything less or more?
Trent was asking, how would you be able to share a bit, or would you be able to share a bit more about the mentorship for JVs? I'm going to assume you're talking about the paid mentorship that I talked about, that we're able to get through our partners there. Basically what it was that we were able to partner on those deals, get paid for partnering and bringing a service, but also learning from them along the way. Another example of that, you can turn it into a JV, is if somebody had a deal that we thought was a good deal right now and brought it to Steve and I and said, hey, can I, get a part of this deal if you guys operate it? You guys take it, you guys run it, you guys do it. I just want a small percentage to learn how to do it. I'll property manage it for you. I'll help with the renovations. I'll do some of that. You can bring deals to people and then have them make money while they're doing it, but also get mentored along the way. And I think so many people are scared to ask for that and think they have to go spend $20,000, $30,000 on guru courses and stuff like that. If you can find good deals or start trying to get involved, go project manage, go property manage for a percent ownership of the property, put some free time in, learn how to do it. You can actually start getting ahead quite a bit quicker, getting involved that way. And it's basically a free or paid mentorship. So you don't need to pay somebody to do it. Go find a good enough deal, ask them to come partner on it, and you take a percentage of it and give it to them. Let them show you the ropes along the way. I think it's one of the best ways to do that. I don't know if you had a different answer for that, Steve, but.
What was the question again?
Well, just sharing a bit about the mentorship for JVs.
I think you basically touched on all points, man. Like, I think the only thing that I want to add into that is just like accountability partners, like whether it be a mentor or a business partner, or, a friend circle or something along those lines, have that consistent connection. Okay, here's a great metaphor. So there's internal and external accountability. Internal accountability be like, I'm going to go to the gym at 5 o'clock in the morning. The alarm goes off and you're like, screw that, I'm going back to bed. That's internal accountability. External accountability is I say, Randy, come pick me up at 5 o'clock in the morning because we're going to go to the gym. Now I'm like, I know he's going to come knocking on my door. If I don't answer the door, he's going to break my window. He's going to drag my ass out of bed and he's going to take me to the gym. That's the difference. So that's the difference of like having like a small mastermind or having a network that keeps you accountable versus you just being a solopreneur kind of thing. And that's one of the biggest things that's helped us propel is being surrounded by other people who are above us that we want to be like, yeah, you know what? If you're, what is it? Like you are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most amount of time with, find those 5 people that are all better than you because you're just going to organically grow just from being surrounded by them.
Great answer.
I know.
I did, we can touch on Marie's question quickly here, and then I had a private one coming to me, but what were your roles in the first land development? Our first, yeah, I can talk on 2nd Street and you can talk on maybe Salt Spring on what we did there. So our first ever land development was we put an assembly together. So I had a development partner come in, and I knew a guy who wanted to get into development, and he said, man, I want to get into development. I just don't know where to find the land. I don't quite know the rules, blah, blah, blah. And Stephen at the time were excited about development. So we went and found a piece of land, found out the zoning, went to the city, talked to them, got all the notes, put everything together, put the property under contract, did everything for them, and then wholesaled the deal with some back end profit to them. So we said, hey, pay us upfront for all the work that we did. And we want to stay on the back end of the project. So we were heavily involved in it. We learned along the way. We got a ton of experience, got paid for it, and learned along the way. So in that one, our role was find the land, talk to the city, understand what they wanted to see there, start putting it together and put a kind of a package together for the developer that could go in and just build on that area, knowing that it was safe to build there, or at least they knew what could be built there, if that makes sense. And then Steve can just share about what we did for Salt Spring, or I can if you want.
By all means, add on. So I think like just the cliff notes of how we got into the next project, which is, stepping stones. The package is already there. So the developer approached us and said, hey, do you want to be a part of this project? It's already put together. We just have to close and build and execute. And so our primary role would have been raise the capital through investors, as well as like provide not on site, but like boots on the ground experience. So the development partners that we partner with are from Edmonton. So they didn't quite have like, the secret sauce of what Victoria and the CRD has or is. And so we provided a little bit of design input. Randy brought a lot of the trades into the equation. We were able to sit there and be like, you know what, this is actually a really good deal because here's where, getting back on the economics and how often it plays into the equation. When we start looking at all the different data on the project, it turns out to be a profitable venture. So I don't know if you had more that you wanted to throw into it, but Cliff Notes version. And then just the one additional piece is that we had a seat at the table on that project. So the first project that Randy spoke on, we're basically riding shotgun. So we didn't have the steering wheel, we didn't have the gas pedal or brake or anything like that. Maybe we could roll down the window and that was about it. But with this project, we literally have a seat at the table. So we have a deciding factor or a deciding voice in every decision-making through the process. And not only is that what I would say a requirement for if you're raising capital with investors, especially in the early stages of a partnership, but it also puts you in that position to be able to be forced to be educated on what decision should you make, what should your voice be. And so there's many nights where I'm sitting there at 1 o'clock in the morning researching about this or that because I knew the next day we had a team meeting and I wanted to have an educated voice or opinion.
Yep. The only thing I would add is we just brought to the table what they needed at the time. So They needed boots on the ground. They needed construction. They didn't know the trades there. They didn't have a ton of connections. I had a lot of connections into all of the trades in and around the area. So half that development's done by most of my good friends in the trade industry, which is incredible. We had a lot of design input. I had a lot of experience from being in the trades on, hey, how can we wire this better? How can we change the designs? You know, the bathtub should be, you know, tubs in one area because there's kids and things like that. So as they were just starting out in their new development company as well, they had a lot of experience from different areas. They were coming in new. They were looking for a little bit of guidance on the construction side, getting their feet wet into a new market as well. So we just happened to have a lot of what they needed at the time. And so we raised all the capital for the project, brought a lot of construction experience, and brought a lot of boots on the ground. Steve and I were on Salt Spring basically every week for a few weeks there, checking out the sites, sending them videos, walking everything, passing it off to them, and doing that. So the best answer I can give is we just brought a lot to the table that they needed that they didn't have at the time. So if you're looking for advice on how to do that with your own partners or the next group, just find something that they need. And like I said, the first one we did, I just had the ability to go find the land, put the package together for the developer. He could build, he knew all of that. He just didn't know how to put the land assembly together. So we did all that for them. So that's that question there. I did have one more question here. I'm going to spin it a little bit to make it more relevant.
Let me just chime in with one more thing on top of that, just elaborating off of what you were saying about the first one. One of the things that they didn't have was the time to work with the city to find that opportunity. And so one of the things that we did was we went and met up with the city, which was in Duncan at the time, and no different than your standard JV, 50-50 on an income property. One person brings the time, the other person brings the money. And in that particular case, one of the things they didn't have was the time to, they're Victoria based, but to drive up to Duncan every day and connect with what city and planners and trades wanted. And that was, half our portfolios in the Valley. And Randy was up there basically, 4 days a week at the time. So that was just being able to be boots on the ground, in place, in position, and have that ability to be like, yeah, sweet, text message comes in, great, I'll be there. Was a huge quality that we added to the equation.
Got about half hour left, guys. If you want to keep asking questions, feel free to shoot them off. If not, Megan will shoot us a few more after this, and we'll see what things look like there. I did have a private question that came into me. Gonna spin it a little bit differently. Somebody was just asking who's the better boss, but I'm gonna spin it to be more about how do we roll? How do we have different roles inside of our company? So how do Steve and I have different roles inside of our company, and how do we decide who does what? So it's honestly, yeah, there's a lot of learning curves along the way. Steve and I have gone through, and we can be transparent, we've gone through moments where we were ready to sell the company and split it up and walk away because we couldn't agree on certain things. And we've been through moments where we're like, dude, how have we created such an epic, partnership and been able to succeed in 5 years of partnership. And so where we're at now is a lot different than where we were then. Then it was just, hey, something's come in, somebody deal with it. Now we're very much, Steve deals a lot with the investor relations, and we learned this along the way. Maybe I should kind of roll through this. As we came in, there was a lot of investors that wanted facts. There was a lot of investors that wanted fluff. Not fluff, they just wanted hype. They want to be stoked. They want to be pumped up. I did a lot of the pump up investors. Steve took care of a lot of the analytics and a lot of the more people that wanted a lot of the facts. We both ran the meetups equally. We ran a lot of stuff equally throughout our company. As we started getting bigger, we found our roles. We found Steve might not have had the best patience for property management. Him and tenants might not have got along the best. Whereas
so the book of people like, it is a law, bro. Like, follow the law.
And I actually have a lot of patience for tenants. I don't know how I've been blessed with that ability, but I can sit there and talk to a tenant for hours and diffuse the bombs quite quickly. So I just started taking over more of the property management. I have the construction experience, so I started taking over a lot of the construction management. Steve had the sales background, so he took over a little bit more of the sales in our companies. So now as we've kind of grown our company out, I do a lot of the day-to-day management for our portfolio, for construction, a lot of the design process and the development stuff. I'm on a lot of the calls for the development, finding out what's going on site, doing that and relaying it to Steve so that he can get it out to the investors. And also me being a visionary, I love what's in the future. So I bring about 40 different things to the table every week about new opportunities that we can do, not deals, but just like, hey, Steve, you want to go write a book? Hey, Steve, let's go invest in this. Hey, Steve, let's go buy a playground. Like, I just have all these crazy ideas. And so really the visionary of what we're trying to create, which is great because you need someone that can think bigger and push it outside the box and do that. And Steve really runs the operations and keeps us honed in. And Steve takes care of now all investor relations. He loves the analytics and stuff. So he does a lot of the due diligence on the land when we're looking at buying it, asks a lot of the hard questions to our development partners, making sure that they're on track, a lot of the legal stuff, and a lot of the sales. So we kind of naturally found our roles in the company. And by doing that really helped us stay in our lanes and learning to trust each other. I trust when Steve says that this is the way something has to be, or hey, this development's not right for us because the zoning's not right, or this isn't right. I trust that process. Whereas, on my side, if I tell Steve, hey, we've got to go over budget 10 grand on this project because we need to change the flooring, he trusts me in that space there. So a lot of trust along the way. That's how we've been able to separate our company and learn our roles in where we are.
Now you see how important communication is.
And weekly meetings and endless fights and learning how to support each other in those conversations has also been really big. But to answer whoever's question it was, the who's the better boss, we're both equal bosses and both provide a lot of different skills to our company and just built a lot of trust inside what we do. I don't know if there's anything you need to add to that. But.
No, I mean, you pretty much captured all that. I think one thing that I've come to realize over our partnership is there's not just one right answer. Like, there's multiple ways to skin a cat. And Randy and I oftentimes we do this, and then we get to like the same conclusion. And we're like, why didn't you just say that? And so like having that patience to walk through, that communication cycle and having the right partner to work with and having the ability to communicate through the process is really important. And just knowing that there's multiple ways to get the same destination, having that understanding and letting go of that ego that your way might not be the way. There might be other ways and better ways that are there.
100%. And you guys can see when we try write an email, I'll write it, I'll send it to Steve. He'll edit 6 times, send it back to me. I'll edit 3 more times, send it back to him. We say the exact same thing. It's just literally the language and how we speak is so different. So we actually do a lot of just beta testing now. Like, hey, you send it your way because you speak to a different clientele. I speak to a different clientele. Let's just start sending out whatever goes out and just learn to appreciate it and not get mad at each other and say, God, I hate the way you write emails. It's like, hey man, cool. Your email hits different people and my email hits different people, and we'll just check mark everything.
Just a quick note on that, something that was just DM'd to me, a bit of a long piece, but the piece I get out of it is that in these types of partnerships, we both understand, acknowledge, accept, and appreciate that we are much better together than we are apart. And that's the type of partnership, if you're doing any kind of partnership, development, JV, business partners, marriage, whatever that may be. Like, that's the kind of thing that you want to find in a partner. Be patient for it. But when you find that person where you're better together than you are apart, that's a winning combination.
Are you going to get our name proposed to me or what?
No, I've already done that more times than I need to.
Megan, you got a flyer question for us from the crowd?
Sorry, do I have a what? My husband was coming in here and heard you guys saying you're going to propose to each other. He's got questions now.
I said, do you have a flyer question from somebody from before?
I do. I have, let me scroll here. What real estate investment technology do you recommend?
A good old spreadsheet for ROI calculations.
Nothing like Excel.
Honestly, though, learning how to do spreadsheets is probably the best thing you can do in this thing. Steve and I, from the day we started till now, build probably 12 spreadsheets a week, because all of a sudden, like, you have one with properties, and also you're like, what if we wanted to change the revenue on that? Then you rebuild the whole spreadsheet all over again. And then you're like, oh, what if we wanted to add a 6-unit building to that property? Then you redo the spreadsheet again, and then you do this. And then all of a sudden somebody sends you a new deal, and it's just a bunch of numbers, and you got to put it into Excel so that everything works together and operates together and functions in a way that actually makes sense. So I'd say Steve and I, technology wise, spreadsheets are probably the best thing that's ever happened to us, because learning how to do them, I suck at them, but I'm actively always trying to get better at them because they're so big. I don't know if there's actually like a real, like, there's an app called Deal Check, which is a really good one that people have out there. And property management, we use Pendo, so pen.do. So I think that's been a huge piece of technology that's helped us out. So all of my leasing's online, and tracking everything and all that kind of stuff is all online with pen.do. I'm not sure if there's many more pieces of technology that we use.
We use Monday.com to keep us and our team accountable on tasks. And so Monday is really cool too, because there's a lot of automations that can take place. So if I accomplish this task, that sends Randy an email saying it's complete, or it sends that trades guy saying, hey, now you're up next for being on site. So it can act as not only a task organizer and a CRM, which is a client relationship management tool, but it can also be a project management tool as well. I mean, I gotta say this: Facebook and social media is certainly a tool to share your expertise, to attract clients if you're a broker, realtor, investor, or whatever. What else would be a good tool? There's a couple of really great, common theme of the night, Steve loves data. There's a couple of really great websites that have like localized data. So follow the stats with whatever environment you're part of. So Victoria, there's Victoria Real Estate Board. So watch that monthly. Citified is an awesome one here in Victoria that collects data on construction development and where they are in either pre-construction or regulatory construction, sales. Yeah.
Cool. Do you have a spreadsheet that has BRRRRs when the refinancing on one spreadsheet, or do you create a spreadsheet for BRRRRs and a second spreadsheet for the ARV properties? It's like a mix of both, depending on the property. Honestly, we manipulate every spreadsheet depending on the properties because everyone's so different. A lot of the times we buy cash now, do the renovations, and then put a mortgage on it. So it's a little bit different than holding financing on it that way. So we have one spreadsheet that we use, and then we make a copy, manipulate it for everything, make another copy, manipulate it for everything, make another copy, manipulate it 3 or 4 different ways, and then just label them across the bottom so that we can keep track on them. There are some people that have some awesome spreadsheets. We've seen one partner in our mastermind literally has this entire spreadsheet where you change one thing and 500 different columns change. And for a BRRRR strategy, it works really great. We just don't have the time for it. So we use one main spreadsheet for our numbers, then we just manipulate it a few different ways to give us a few different scenarios. So it's just a standard spreadsheet, then we change it. I did have one question here that says, how did you find your first land development deal? Oh, did you find your first land development deal hard to find? Honestly, that one was cool because when Steve and I went to a real estate training, they recommended going in and talking to a bunch of cities to just see and learn about the community. So while we were in Ontario, we went to a bunch of different random cities and just walked into the municipalities and said, hey, we're investors, we're from BC, we're looking to invest in this area. Can you start telling us a little bit about the area, where we should go? We got very comfortable talking to some municipalities, came back home, went to the municipality in Duncan, where I was obviously spending a lot of time. And we decided, hey, we're developers. We're looking to come to this area. We want to bring some great development projects. But one thing we love to do is work with the cities to see how we can work within their boundaries. So a lot of times when you go to the city and say, how can we work with you? Where do you want to see it? As opposed to going in there and saying, hey, we want to build a 12-unit building in this area. We go in and say, hey, we're looking at building small multifamilies between 8 and 20 units. Where would you like to see that built? Where is some zoning where that might take place? And they actually leaked some information to us about where zoning was going to be changed, where it was easy to change some zoning and stuff like that. So then we just went and knocked on the doors and started finding properties in that area where the city said, this is the area we want to see developed. Please go start there. And so they told us they wanted to see 6 and 8 plexes put in this area. So we started knocking on some doors, got all the information together, and found somebody that wanted to sell, ran some quick numbers for the guy, put it together. So going in and talking to the city, becoming friends with them, not being rude, and just saying, hey, we want to help expand the growth of this city. What can we do to work with you to create that? Was how we did that one, to answer your question.
And that's been a really successful formula for us as well. And just for context's sake, like most developers don't go that direction. Most developers are kind of more so, as I mentioned before, have that egotistical, like, this is my vision. I'm going to create a dinosaur shaped building and it's going to be right here. Whereas our methodology to it is, hey, walk into the city. What do you want to see and where do you want to see it? They'll say, I want to see development here and here and here. We go analyze those properties. We say, this market is too over expensive. This market here has, bad earth, like the geotechnical reports being negative. But this market here is prime. Let's go shop and door knock in that area. And again, it's just like the market telling us where to go.
A lot of free information if you're willing to make phone calls. You can call geotechnical companies and ask, hey, if I'm going to start investing in this area, do you guys have some quick insight for me? Hey, city, I'm looking at building in this area. Do you have some insight for me? Finding some people who are developing in that area and asking to take them out for a coffee. Like Steve and I knew everybody in that area, what they developed, what was the problems, what were the issues, what was going on. I can still probably tell you everything about that area because we studied it so hard. We just got obsessed with it.
And all the owners.
Yeah, got obsessed with it. And honestly, that guy that we just put the assembly for is now building a 100-unit building on 2 or 3 of the lands that we assembled for him. He actually went and bought 3 or 4 more around it and is doing a 100-unit building now. Crazy. Another time for 1 or 2 more quick.
Sorry, we missed a question from the very beginning. I just scrolled back through the chat and Allison Renner asked, for the Sterling building, what is the minimum investment and does one have to be an accredited investor, and is it a limited partnership?
3 questions in one, my lady. So minimum investment, we're looking for investors who can bring $100,000 to the table for the Sterling project. That would be cash. It would be accredited and exempt investors only, as we talked about what that criteria is earlier. And then the limited partnership. It is a limited partnership agreement. So investors in a LP have, like, the whole purpose behind the name of a LP is limited partner, means that you have limited liability. So the difference between a LP, limited partnership, and a JV, joint venture, would be in a joint venture, Randy and I become partners and we go buy a property together. We're both on title, we're both at stake, we both put some sort of other money or skill set or time into the table or into the project, but then we're both liable for whatever happens because we're both associated in that manner. So if Bob the builder falls over while he's painting a wall, he can come after everybody who's a part of that joint venture partnership. Myself, whether it be my fault or not, Randy, whether it be his fault or not. And that could be like all of our additional assets in the background. So whatever other companies we own, whatever other properties we have, our spouse's situation, the whole works in a JV, unless it's protected by what's called a corporate veil. A limited partnership, there's 2 sides to it. There's a limited partner, primarily investors, and there's a general partner, primarily the developer or decision maker. So being in a a limited position, you have limited exposure or limited liability. So in that same circumstance, if Bob the builder falls over while he's painting a wall, they can come after us as the general partner because we're the decision maker on the process. But the only thing that's ever exposed in terms of losses is whatever the investor puts into the project. So if they invest 100 grand, that's the only thing that's ever on the table for a loss. They cannot and never come after the additional assets or positions that the investors have because they're in a limited and protected position.
Very
Great
good
answer.
explanation.
You're welcome.
You ready for the next question? Because I still have several anonymous questions to get through here. I don't think we've missed any more in the live chat.
If we missed your question, just put it back in there and we can answer it.
Yeah, yell at us.
Okay.
One thing I want to, yeah, never mind.
All right. I got actually several anonymous questions asking who the better boss is, and no way am I answering that while they're watching. But if you want to know, give me a call. And then let's see here. Just curious what you think of the trend of young people thinking that housing is more and more unaffordable due to investors. It's a tough one.
Sorry, can you say that again? I was reading the chat.
Yes, it's just curious what you think of the trend of young people thinking that housing is more unaffordable due to investors.
I think education is something that needs to be primarily brought up into the young person world.
Yeah. Don't want to bring politics into this too much, but definitely we might start seeing a lot more shared home ownership. So we might actually start seeing more young people come together as a corporation and buy a house. 3 people come together, they each buy a house, there's 3 rooms, and then that way you can just buy in and out of your shares. You might see investors start to do rent to own type stuff with shares being available. So you get to see a lot of the upside in it. So I would just keep your eyes open for shared homeowner equity positions, because those are going to become more prominent as it gets harder for young people to get into the economy. It is definitely not investors causing the problem. There's way bigger problems out there than that. So it's my 2 cents, but yes, it's.
I'm happy to go on a rant here. Like
no.
I could rant about this all friggin' night.
No,
like
that's good. We can go to the next question.
If you want to have a little bit, I'm gonna go anyways. So you can mute me. I'm gonna unmute myself. If you want to have a little bit of just like, hey, maybe you've got a teenager, maybe it's your grandma. I don't know. Whoever's sitting there being like, you know what, investors suck. It's investors that actually help supply where we live with housing. If you did not have investors to help fund that initial aspect of development, you will not have new housing, period, because the governments, municipal, provincial, as well as federal, do not have enough incentives for developers, do not have the right criteria set up for developers to create new supply. Because there's such little supply, that means that there's a ton of demand. A ton of demand means increased pricing. So if you want to really stick a spoke in somebody's gears, go talk to your municipality and encourage them to, one, make it more incentivized for developers to create supply in the right areas, and 2, speed up the permitting process, because that's, especially in Victoria, that's one of the biggest things holding us back here. Is we have so many more people coming into our geographic location with not enough housing. That's increasing the price of supply because there's 100 people bidding for one house. If there was one house with what's the opposite of that? If there was 100 houses with one person buying, you got to think that prices are going to come down. It's not investors. Look to your oversighting governments.
Wow,
That's a great answer.
It's a very great rant, Steve. Did not think you were going to go there with it, and I'm glad you did. That was awesome.
Where did you think I was going to go?
And the mayor, Lisa Helps, the mayor of Victoria, what was it she had said? You had posted an article.
She said that, so in her blog last week, week before, she said that even if we added 7,000 new units to Victoria's marketplace today, we would still feel the same type of pressure that we're currently facing. So let me rephrase that. If overnight there was 7,000, so we're Victoria. Victoria has a 1% vacancy rate. That's basically standard across the 13 municipalities of Victoria. A lot of them actually less than 1%. If we added 7,000 units overnight, we'd still have the same type of pressure as we would that we're already facing today.
We need more real estate.
What's up?
We need more real estate.
Yeah. We gotta start taking after Dubai and start building like palm-shaped islands off of a Esquimalt.
Yep. One question that we have here is regarding renovations that you do to properties that you purchase, and what do you think are the most high value renovations?
Oh yeah, question in my realm.
Let me answer quickly then, because I don't think this is gonna be your answer. And then you can go off on your own rampage. Mine, which I think is like not your traditional, would be curb appeal. I think that curb appeal is underrated, especially on the public market, maybe not on the appraisal side of things, but on the public market. When you walk up to a house, there is a certain emotion that is triggered. Most people are emotional buyers. So make sure that the emotion that you're putting out there first, like your first impression, is as good as it can be.
Really good. And very true. I'm just going to see if I have a picture. I don't think it's going to work. It's going to freeze. Big things for us. What do? Tile backsplash everywhere we go. Looks sexy. People attract to it. Looks really great. We started actually doing granite countertops and everything we do. The extra cost actually increases our rent quite a bit. The lifelong workability of it is forever. And tenants can put hot stuff on it and not worry. So there's no burn marks. There's not anything like that. So we started putting granite in everything. For our bathrooms, we do tile surrounds everywhere. It's worth the money to get it done right and not have to worry about replacing splashes and stuff, getting the right caulking done, getting somebody right in there, and adds huge value. We do vinyl plank flooring on all of our floors. So all of our floors have vinyl plank, very indestructible. They're good with water, they're good with pets, and they look really clean now. So those are some big ones we do. We do one paint color throughout the entire property because then it's easy to clean up and paint later. And we are starting to feel out the cost difference of white and black. So using black faucets and black handles and stuff like that kind of is putting us in that more luxury type feel. So we do a lot of higher end type rentals. We're aiming for the top of the market. Those are the things that we do that we find are absolute must in every unit we touch and are getting us the highest value, the highest return, and the best bang for buck on them.
I also think we're missing a big aspect of this question, if I understood the question right. Things that increase revenue to your property. For example, build a storage shed out back, charge $300 a month for that. Add storage in your basement, add parking to your unit. Maybe it's just dirt. It's just, but it's like, landscape tied. Maybe it's asphalted, maybe it's gravel or whatever. Every time you add $1 to your property in terms of revenue stream, you're adding whatever your cap rate in that market is to the value of your property itself. So the more revenue you can collect with your property, the more a multifamily is going to be worth. And so that's something you got to take into consideration as well. It's not just like put on, black fixtures or whatever I was, like curb appeal, but make sure that you're adding revenue to your property as well.
Beauty. I'll let you answer Rob's question, then I'll answer it if I have any things, and then we're going to draw a winner for everyone who stayed on. We'll draw a winner of another gift card.
Nice. Rob's question: would you ever buy cash flow negative to speculate on capital appreciation. So specifically kind of within BC, basically if you buy a property, you can flip it tomorrow for an extra 100 grand more, right? So in the development space, yes. In the buy and hold space, my generic answer would be absolutely not, run away. But my specific answer would be it depends. And it depends more so on a question that I often ask investors who say, hey, I want to invest in your development deal, but I'm using a HELOC, right? And so 100K, maybe you're spending $200 or $300 a month on the expense to access that 100K from your HELOC, oftentimes less. My question back would then be, say Armageddon hits, your life circumstances change, and maybe you have to change careers, maybe partner you have a baby or something like that. Will that additional expense that you have on that property possibly cause you sleepless nights or stress in the future? If that is a yes, walk away, go find a different deal. If that property is going to cause you sleepless nights, why? Like, we're all in this position, we all want to be real estate investors for the exact opposite reason of that. We want to go find property that can give us the lifestyle that we want. And my dream lifestyle is not sleepless nights, unless I'm raging in Spain in a cave at a rave or something like that. But yeah, that would be my short answer.
Yeah, mine also depends on varies. If I'm personally buying a rental property, just me involved, and I have the cash flow to supplement the extras, and it's less than a few $100, it might be worth it. I know that it's just me involved. If something happens, I could liquidate it, I could do that. If I had a partner involved, I'd be a hell no. It adds too much pressure to the situation that where are you coming up with the money every month? What happens to it? It doesn't matter how much money you can make. It's not worth the sleepless nights, like Steve said. But if it's a difference between getting in the market versus not, say you're buying a condo that rents for $2,000 and your expenses are $2,200 on it. I mean, if you're a young person starting out and it means getting into the market, if I had a decent place to live and my rent was good, it's no different than buying the house and living in it myself. If it only cost me $200 a month to start getting the benefits of paying down the mortgage and seeing the capital appreciation, I would be, as long as I treated it like a forced savings plan and I had the extra capital to put into it, I would be, I would definitely consider it. But again, all goes back to economics and data and everything. What's the property going to do? Is the taxes going up? Is the property taxes going up? Are the insurance going up? The $200 a month loss can turn into $400 or $500 real quick, and that can make it not fun on the property. If we especially see a downturn or a correction, and you're in the correction and you can't afford the payments and you lose on it, yeah, that's where we start to see a lot of people say that real estate's a bad investment, is because they make decisions like that. So mixed emotions around it, but I'm not opposed to it, but would never do it in a partnership.
I think a big contributor to that too is how big is your contingency fund. So I think Rennie mentioned it earlier in our call, like we have 5% vacancy in our numbers. We've usually got a few $100s per door for repair and maintenance in the future. All of the property that we originally absorbed, we renovate so that we don't have a massive repair maintenance fund, because we don't know, because we did a lot of the work on the front end. But if you do have $500 a month or $1,000 a month going into that contingency, and you have that $200 negative cash flow aspect on things, that can help support things, because even if the market does dip off a little bit, and maybe instead of $2,000 a month, you're now getting 18, at least you have that contingency fund to kind of counteract a little bit of that. But again, I think my point out of it all is just like, make sure that you do have that contingency aspect on things.
Beautiful. I think that is going to conclude our evening. We're right on time. An hour and a half of just Steve and I blabbering, and it felt like it was no problem at all. We could probably go for another 2 hours. So if you
I
guys
feel
ever
like I'm
want
just
to
getting warmed up.
if you ever want to listen to people talk, this is the place to come. So we are going to pick a winner for the gift card. And I'm going to just quickly put this onto gallery view. So we are going to pick a winner. And the winner is, drumroll, hey. I just like to make people wait. I'm just kidding.
That's killing me.
I have Ellen Birnbaum.
Heyo!
There we go.
Thanks.
Yeah, nice.
It's from Ottawa, staying tuned into the end to make sure she got her chance at the gift card, and it worked.
It's like 10:30 out there. What are you doing?
I know.
Really
Love the dedication.
I really appreciate you saying on. Wow, I'm pseudo happy to see that go to someone who is dedicated enough to stay to the end, all the way from the East Coast. So thank you so much, Ellen. We will get that over to you tonight. Megan will be able to, oh, perfect. There's your email address. I'll send that to you right now and go from there. So thank you again, everybody, for coming out, hanging out with us for the evening, asking some great questions. Hope you guys had fun with it. It was meant to just be a fun kind of night, get to know us better, answer some questions, and hope you guys had a ton of fun with it. Feel free to ask questions inside of our community on Facebook. We'll be able to answer them in there and continue the conversations, or again, just reach out to us. We always have answers, and hope you guys enjoyed. Have a great, safe evening, and we will see you not in August, unless you maybe live on Vancouver Island, and we'll be aiming for September, the third Tuesday in September. So awesome, everyone, have a great night, and we will see you later.